Casual Beatdown? I haven't heard that name in years. Once a group of PM heads, bustling with life, the budding clan of Super Friends has found itself divided at the hands of the darkness. Super Smash Brothers. The looming titan of death has drove many former heroes far from this land, fearful of having to learn a new way of life at the cost of their hands. Those who remained grew strong, but not without much bloodshed and sorrow. The old CB, a growing group, has been left withering and dry, not unlike a well in the Texas drought. With brackets emptier than ever before, and the death of CB just on the horizon, the time has come to face fate. Will the champion of the third CEVO be the one to save CB, delivering the group from its grave into a bright 6th season? Or will they leave the group to fade off into the sunset, with nothing remaining but the memory of seasons past? So what the hell is a CEVO? On June 16th, CEVO 3 Revival will be the final tournament in the 5th season of Casual Beatdown, Long Island's premier shitty in-house tournament series. With CEVO less than a week away now, I decided to throw this project together in order to get competitors and viewers alike prepared for the big day. This video mainly exists to serve as a spectator's guide to plot threads and storylines to look out for going into the season's final event. We're going to start toward the top seeds for CEVO and work our way down while discussing players. Side note, I'm only going to be going over each player's projected bracket, as in who they are expected to go up against based on the player's seed at the event. If one player upsets a higher seed player, or another player loses early on, a lot of the talk about players' projected runs can become null and void, and this is likely to happen. Just a disclaimer. Alright, let's start off with one of the more obvious storylines to look out for. Who will end the season at rank number 1? Right now, there are 2 contenders, that being RobBob and LPAG. Coincidentally, these two hold the top seeds for CEVO, and are the 2 people everyone has in mind when thinking about people who can win the tournament. As the current number 1, RobBob's looking to make the final push to assert himself as the clear best player in CB at CEVO. His recent results, with 2 third placings, may lead some to believe that his footing has been slipping, but in reality, he's only lost to 2 players in the past 7 tournaments he's attended, those 2 players being Fat and Cyborg. Despite this, he still finds himself with a strong, positive record on the 2, leaving him looking primed and ready to take his 5th tournament win for the season. He shouldn't have any problems progressing through the tournament up until winner's semis, where he's projected to fight Cyborg. After that, he's projected to face off with his only competition for finishing the season in first, LPAG. LPAG's strong placings in the early half of the season get bogged down by spotty attendance, leaving him in a competitive race to the top with RobBob. Interestingly, both players are tied at 4 tournament wins apiece, so CEVO will serve as a tiebreaker for the 2 if they meet up in grand finals. Similarly to RobBob, LPAG has only lost to 3 people throughout the entire season, 2 of which could stand to be deep bracket threats for him at CEVO. Fortunately, he won't have to meet either of those 2 threats up until winners finals, where he is supposed to face off with RobBob. Before that, however, he will have a run-in with Fat at winners semis, who may give LPAG more trouble than their 4-0 record in LPAG's favor may lead you to believe. Be on the lookout to see if either of the 2 favorites for the event can get one final win under their belts to aid their case for being ranked number 1. Another player to look out for can be found in Fat. Ranked 5th for the mid-season ranks, Fat has found himself on an upwards trend, getting seeded 3rd for the season's penultimate event. With a very solid track record against the rest of the group, Fat finds himself looking primed to move up in the ranks at the season's end. The question at this point is, just how far can he rise? A case is already easy to make for number 4 in CB, with 3 second place finishes and a slew of great wins. But could one more solid performance at CEVO put him in the running for rank number 3? Statistically, the run looks very difficult, having him face a potential upset in winner's quarters when he faces off with Shadows, and going right into dealing with his greatest demon in winner's semis, LPAG. LPAG is the only player that Fat has played but not beaten in all of CB this season. The upset is surely possible, with 2 of their 4 sets going to last game, but looking at their most recent sets ending in 2 3-0s, it doesn't look very promising. In the losers bracket, Fat is projected to meet Party U, the player ranked immediately below him on the mid-season PR, and a very even matchup that could go either way. Let's just hope that they don't do a God set, because either of their tournament runs ending in a Bowser vs DK set would be, let's say, tragic. If he wins, he will likely be fighting Cyborg, who he took his first win off at another reunion, the most recent CB tournament. The cards are stacked against him, but it is not impossible. Quick side note, let's just pretend that I'm not talking about myself during this next segment, so it's less weird for the both of us. Cyborg continued his hallmark consistency from the previous 4 seasons of CB into the early portion of his 5th season, but has since been found stumbling a bit. Consistent second placings have turned into 5th place finishes to players ranked below him, and CEVO serves as the last chance to stop the bleeding from some relatively poor performances. Important to note is that he technically has a tournament win under his belt at this point, as well as sets off of both of the front runners for the tournament, so a win isn't entirely out of the question for him. You see, his older brother Chera won a tournament earlier this season, but he formally requested that his tournament win and all of his set victories get passed down to his little brother on the stat sheet. What a nice guy. Cyborg's run through the tournament begins to get iffy at winner's quarters, where he will fight Party U, who defeated him in the most recent set. If he wins that, he comes face to face with RobBob, with which he has had very mixed sets with. In losers, he's projected to have a run-in with Shadows before having his rematch with Fat. Though the set count is heavily in Cyborg's favor, the set's outcome is far from clear. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Party U made his first appearance at the CB Summit and quickly proved himself to be a formidable threat to the others. Since then, he has kept a consistent stream of 4th and 5th place performances, with some solid wins here and there. His consistency has earned him a comfortable 6th place spot on the current rankings, but is it remotely possible for him to rise with one more strong performance? At this point, it is unlikely that he will be able to build a resume strong enough to surpass Jeku, the current rank number 5, who's the only PR'd player not attending the tournament. However, a truly insane run might be just what he needs to give him leverage over Jeku. Party U has a more difficult bracket relative to his seed than most. In pools and in winners round 1 of bracket, he's expected to fight both Wizrad and Notek, both of which are truly solid players who would be more than worthy of being PR'd if they had only been able to attend more events. He is then expected to meet Cyborg in winner's quarters in a heated run back. And projected to lose, he finds himself against Papa Every in a match to get into top 8, who gave him a real run for his money in their most recent encounter. His run continues through losers in a match against LCMike, and is projected to end his tournament with Fat. Party U is tied in sets with both of these players, so an extended losers bracket run to re-meet with Cyborg in losers semis is a true possibility. Party U's tournament life has a strong potential to be volatile in either a good or bad way, and after a consistent season, it'll be interesting to see which way that ends up going. In an unlikely turn of events, Shadow has come into his own as a strong CB melee player. Who knew that dropping Pichu for a real character could be fruitful? Despite having been away at college for the majority of the season's duration, with CEVO 3, Shadow will have scraped together just enough tournament attendances to make himself eligible for the PR, and with tournaments and placings like his, he's a shoo-in for being around the 7th to 8th rank. How much further can he hope to climb, though? Shadow's bracket gets tricky once he reaches winner's quarters, where he will face Fat. He's demonstrated a capability to come close to claiming a win against him, but he has been unable to close it out just yet. He's expected to face off with Andre and HILTÈ in loser's side, who he has a positive and even record against, respectively. Unfortunately, it would be hard to see Shadow's run going beyond loser's quarters if he gets there, with him having to go up against Cyborg. Despite this, a 5th place run at a tournament like this would likely be sufficient for Shadows to make a nice case for himself on the PR. Similarly to Cyborg, HILTÈ, a player once known for his high consistency, has appeared to be much more volatile through the earlier half of Season 5. With placements ranging as high as 3rd to as low as 9th, it is not what a CB veteran would have expected from him. Thankfully, the season's second half has seen the return of a more consistent HILTÈ, with consistent 5th place finishes across the board. What remains in HILTÈ is a half-solved puzzle. The consistency problem appears to be fixed, but what happened to the fire present when he placed 3rd at CB Summit while dying of sickness? If HILTÈ is looking to solve his melee puzzle at CEVO, well, he has his work cut out for him, making it quite the potential proving grounds for the Marth main. His first tough match of the day is in the final rounds of pools against Andre. If he wins, he then has a rematch with Papa Every, and after that, a set with LPAG. Projected to drop into losers now, he would see No Tech and finally Shadows, which is where his tournament is projected to end. Though the stats would paint an ugly picture of early elimination from players like Papa Every and Shadows, HILTÈ has shown capability to overcome players at his level and above, so don't sleep on him. Be sure to stay on the lookout for HILTÈ appearing as a Luke in brackets for the indeterminate future. Here's where it begins to get tricky to discuss things. What I'm about to bring up is possibly one of the most intriguing storylines for CEVO, and it involves 4 different players all at once. The following 4 players are all going to be in contention with one another for one of the final 2 spots on the Season 5 power ranking. It is pretty difficult to decipher who deserves to be above the others at this point in time, so CEVO will serve as the true line in the sand to divide these players based on their performance this season. Let's start with LCMike, 8th seed for the tournament and statistically a safe bet for a spot on the PR. Despite a string of 9ths early on in the season, he found his footing and began putting up respectable 5th and 7th place performances, taking some good wins along the way. The thing is, outside of a few names here or there, LCMike has lacked the splash he made towards the middle of the season with his past few endeavors through bracket. CEVO would be the tournament to make another splash at, but unfortunately, LCMike has undoubtedly the hardest final pools match of all the top 8 seeds. He will be pitted against Papa Every, one of the other 3 players in strong contention for the PR spot. Papa Every has had highly spotty tournament attendance, and only one great bracket run. But this is circumvented by an impressive win-loss spread against CB's mid-season PR. Retiring from Smash for a brief period of time during the middle of the season left him both rusty and lacking tournament attendance to make him eligible for PR, until he came back. CEVO opens a door for Papa Every to make up for lost time by continuing his frightening level of dominance against the lower half of the power-ranked players, while potentially sneaking in some higher-end wins as a bonus. Then there's Andre, who hasn't put up any impressive results since his great run way back at the beginning of the season. That being said, he's shown that he can hang with players like RobBob, so he's not to be counted out. Look out for him appearing as Gucci Flip-Flop in the upcoming bracket, and hopefully never again. Most interestingly, however, we have the return of SEPHY. Previously ranked 8th on the mid-season PR, much like Papa Every, SEPHY took a temporary leave of absence that looked like it would take him out of the running for a chance to be ranked. But here we are, with SEPHY looking to return to CB for CEVO. It's very hard to say exactly what can be seen from SEPHY at this tournament, and whether or not he'll bust out his patented Yoshi, try his newfound Sheik, Sandbag, or do something completely off the wall that no one could possibly predict. No one will know for sure until he plugs his controller in the day of. As for the bracket runs of these 4 players, Papa Every has an incredibly realistic chance to finally break out again and tear through the bracket, causing several upsets along the way. LCMike and SEPHY likely have the hardest brackets of the bunch, but a lot is really up in the air with these players. It's hard to truly judge what they are capable of solely based on bracket projections, leaving the storyline incredibly open-ended, a story that can only reach its conclusion when the sets are recorded and the brackets are updated. There's one more storyline for CEVO 3 that's worth mentioning, and it doesn't involve any players specifically, at least not yet. At the past 2 CEVOs, we have seen an unexpected player rise up and soar far above what anyone could have possibly expected them to. More on that in a future video. The question on many people's minds is this: will CEVO 3 show us another magical CEVO run from an unlikely source, or will the tournament shatter the myth, proving the previous 2 legendary CEVO runs is nothing more than a coincidence? Well, that's it. So to recap storylines driving CEVO 3. Who will become ranked number 1? RobBob or LPAG? Will Cyborg be able to recover from a shaky second half of the season? Can Fat continue his upwards climb? Will Party U be able to make a case for 5th place in the rankings? Can HILTÈ or Shadows show up big at the season's final tournament? Who will end up snagging the final 2 spots on the season PR? Will one of the strong players ineligible for PR, such as No Tech and Wizrad, make an unexpected insane run? Will anyone repeat CEVO history by having a legendary run through the tournament? Find out on June 16th starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/casualbeatdown. Thanks for watching and be sure to tune into CEVO 3.